I'll just note at the beginning of this episode and all of the episodes in this series, some of the things that you may hear will be disturbing or could be disturbing to our listeners. And so I would just suggest that listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the NJ Criminal Podcast.
Welcome back to NJ Criminal Podcast. In this episode of the Tiffany Valiante series, you will hear attorney Paul D'Amato driving me in his vehicle as he gives me what he refers to as the tour. He will be driving me around the area near the scene of the incident in which Tiffany Valiante was struck and killed by a New Jersey Transit train on July 12th of 2015. In this first clip, Paul and I have left his office and are driving towards the Valiante home.
So, right over here is the FAA, and one of the things that we did as part of our initial investigation is to see if they had any surveillance cameras along Wrangleboro Road, because if they did, the footage, should have picked up Tiffany if she, in fact, had walked from her home, which we don't believe at all. But they had no surveillance cameras at all. So we're on Tilton Road, approaching Wrangleboro. I'm going to take you to the Valiante home. I spoke to Diane and told her because they have surveillance cameras outside their home, and I said, you might see me, and she said no problem. Now, what complicated this case is that 10-12 days after Tiffany dies, the Atlantic County Sheriff's Office brought a bloodhound to the home of Steve and Diane Valiante, and they wanted to see where the hound would take them. The hound took them on a trip of about 4.5 miles. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you what the bloodhound said was the, hold on one second here.
The likely path?
Yeah, the likely path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hold on. All right. Now, this street here has no artificial illumination whatsoever.
And this is Drosera
Yes.
Street.
Right. And the reason this is significant is that the family and friends and coaches of Tiffany Valiante knew she had an unusual fear of the dark. There's actually a psychiatric diagnostic name for it. It's called nyctophobia. And when she would sleep over a girlfriend's home, Tiffany would insist that they keep the lights in the hallway on, a light in the bedroom. She wouldn't even walk in a home unless it was well illuminated. And on the night in question, there was no moonlight whatsoever. Now, this is Manheim Street, and down here is where Tiffany lived. And that night she had been at a birthday party right across the street at her cousin's home. And
no sidewalks, I'm noting.
Yeah, none. So
no sidewalks, no street lamps.
That's right. Okay, so if you were to come here at night, when there's little or no moonlight, and you turn off the headlamps of your vehicle, it's pitch black. You won't even drive, 3 or 4 feet. That's how dark it is back here. Now, would you like to see the beautiful memorial that the family built for her?
I would love that.
Okay, let's go out. Yeah. All right, so on that tree over there, you see the deer camera?
Oh,
You
I see it. Yep.
Okay.
Was that there at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now.
Oh, that's the camera that was referenced.
Yes,
Okay.
where you see her walking. And
that's right in the driveway.
And this is right here.
Okay.
Now. Okay. We have had emails from people all through Europe, Australia, all around the United States, okay? And we've had the psychics contact us. We've had retired law enforcement contact us saying, we'll come there and work for free. So but one of the individuals that contacted us took the photo that you see in the Unsolved Mysteries piece of Tiffany walking down the driveway and tried to enhance it. And I'll show it to you. It's on my phone. There appears to be a person's face. So when you see Tiffany looking to her left, why was she looking to her left? Did somebody call her? We never picked that up before.
I'll have to take another look at that.
Yeah.
Now, the party was directly across the street to the left in that direction.
Right.
When I initially saw that surveillance photo, I thought it was further down the road. I didn't realize it was right here in the driveway.
Okay. So now, Tiffany, who's afraid of the dark, allegedly comes down. Well, not allegedly. We know she came to the end of her driveway. One of the theories, it's just not my theory. This is the theories of many, many people, especially people retired from law enforcement, that contend that when she came down here, she was picked up in a vehicle. She would not have entered the vehicle unless she knew the people, and that she was transported to the point of impact as opposed to walking to the point of impact. So the majority of people are convinced that is what happened. But what threw the investigation off that was conducted by the New Jersey Transit Police Department is they're buying into the bloodhound, saying that she walked almost 5 miles. And despite the fact that there had been 2 significant rains from the time of Tiffany's death until the bloodhound came out. But New Jersey Transit would not budge. They would not discount what they thought was a reliable bloodhound. So
it was, 10 days after?
Yeah, 10, 11 days, something like that. Now, so imagine if you're Tiffany, they're saying that you walk down this street here, no lights. And I've done this at night. All right, and I've turned my headlights up, and I can't drive. Now, the bloodhound has her making a right. Okay, and we're going to do that right now. And we're going to be driving to Tilton Road. The family early on checked all the homes on this road to see if they had any surveillance cameras, and they had none.
But neither on either side?
That's right.
I have a question. Was the party still going on at this point in time?
Very significant point. The answer is yes. And there were 50, 60 people driving their cars from Tilton Road to where the party was. So they would have seen a girl that was almost 6'3" walking down the street.
People were still coming to the party, or people were leaving the party?
They're coming to the party.
Got it. Okay.
Coming to the party. And the party was going pretty strong.
Where were all of those cars parked? On that roadway?
Oh, the roadway, and a lot of them were down the driveways. It's a very long driveway to the home of her cousin. Now, we're about to approach Tilton Road. The bloodhound that was from the Atlantic County Sheriff's Office crosses the road and makes a left, all right, as if we were heading to the White Horse Pike. Gotta be very careful around here. Okay, we're good.
As for making this left or going down there?
No, the bloodhound's making a left.
Okay.
And if we continued all the way, we would hit the White Horse Pike. And the bloodhound goes up to right about here. Well, let's say it's about 100 yards. But days later, Tiffany's shoes and her headband are found farther up Tilton Road. And I'm going to show you the location in a second. There's a cross. Maybe.
Right here?
Yeah, right here. Okay. Now,
is there any significance to the location of where this cross is?
well, oh, yeah, this is where you mean significance about the location?
Right.
No.
Okay.
No. Now, for unsolved mysteries, they have, their analysis was that Tiffany in a vehicle was taken all the way up here. In fact, let's do it. I'll show you.
Okay.
Because the people associated with unsolved mysteries did not buy into the bloodhound, they thought that the analysis that was done by Uncle Bob, that's Steve's brother, they thought was a more reasonable explanation. So Uncle Bob has Tiffany in a vehicle driving toward a bridge up here. That bridge goes over the railroad tracks that the transit train was running on.
The bloodhound, does it continue down this road, or where did the bloodhound take it?
We're going to have to turn around. I'm going to show you where the bloodhound went.
Okay.
If you buy into the fact that Tiffany did not walk from her home to the point of impact, then you have to explain, how did she get there? She didn't drive there. She didn't take a bicycle. There were 2 surveillance videos, one from a Hindu temple that I'm going to show you, and another from a storage facility. They were analyzed by the prosecutor's office, my investigators. There's no Tiffany Valiante shown at the relevant times. Now,
who obtained those surveillance?
The New Jersey Transit Police Department. Okay. Now, there is a way that you can drive underneath this bridge. And underneath this bridge was a known hangout. Okay? And if you go about a couple hundred yards to your right where the railroad track is, that's where the point of impact was.
Right down over here?
Yeah. Now I'm going to show you something. On the night of the incident, a detective from New Jersey Transit interviews the senior engineer. What did you see? I saw the same thing the student engineer saw. Yeah, we were right on top of her. She runs right out. All right. They're put under oath. Several days later, we have the transcript, and the senior engineer says, I didn't see anything. My back was turned. All right. Yet on the night in question, he gave false information to the New Jersey Transit detective. Now, let's talk about this student engineer that was not really familiar with this particular track. He had been on it before, But by his own admission, he was not that familiar with it. And he gave 3 different versions of what he saw. Version 1, I saw her just when we were on top of her, and she jumps out and runs out, and we hit her. Version 2, I see something a half a mile away. Then I see something a quarter mile away. And then all of a sudden, I see a person standing, not moving, and then all of a sudden jumps on to the tracks. Third version is, I see a person jump from the woods 13 feet onto the tracks. It's an impossibility. And when you see the area I'm talking about, you're going to say, no, I don't buy that version. Now,
were all 3 of those versions in the statement that was under oath, or were they 3 versions that were given in various statements?
One version is contained in the actual reports generated by New Jersey Transit. One version is while he's under oath. And then the first version is when the detective interviews him on the night in question. Now, what I'm doing is I'm making, we're on the Whitehorse Pike. I'm making a left on Cologne Avenue because we're going to get out of the car at the tracks, and I'm going to show you why the student's version of seeing somebody a half a mile away or a quarter mile away has no validity whatsoever, because of the support structure for the bridge, which is all concrete. You can't see a damn thing, and you for yourself will see that in a moment.
Can you drive to the point of impact or not?
You can.
Okay.
You can.
So the location could have been accessible that night by
a vehicle. Yep. Okay. Let's get out there.
Okay, so we're back in the car, and you're going to take me back in the direction that we just came to, where the shoes were found.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, so we're heading east on the Whitehorse Pike, and we're now going to go on Tilton Road.
So the path that we just traveled was a path that could have been taken if you presume that Tiffany got into a vehicle.
Yeah, you could get to the point of impact 2 different ways, actually 3 different ways.
And that was path number 1, or
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So that location of the cross that you showed me a couple minutes ago, that is where her shoes were found.
Correct.
Now, they weren't found immediately, correct?
No. I want to say 10, 12 days later. And
that was her mom that found her shoes?
Yeah. Now, people have asked about that. How convenient, how fortuitous that her mother would find the shoes. Well, there was a witness that came forward that saw Diane on the grass, bawling away and screaming, "I just found my daughter's shoes." And these shoes, we know for a fact that Tiffany was wearing them on the night in question, because her sisters verified that she had them on. And her sister showed me a photograph that Tiffany took of her shoes at the party across the street for their cousin who had graduated Holy Spirit High School. So those shoes were not found at the scene, and articles of clothing on her body were also missing. New Jersey Transit immediately viewed this case as a suicide and did not treat it as a crime scene, and contaminated the entire area by allowing people, including family members, to walk all around the scene. Now, it is noteworthy that the bloodhound did not walk all the way up to where those shoes were. In fact, it was probably off by maybe about 300 yards. So the bloodhound turns around right about up here, and starts heading back to Wranglebury Road. Now you'll see to your left an asphalt path.
Well, I saw that when we were coming out at the end of our street. If you had stayed straight, you go right over to this path.
Right. The bloodhound went over that path to Wranglebury Road. Now, when you come to this intersection, you will see that there is some street lighting, all right? But just here, once you drive away from this intersection, there's no more artificial illumination.
Let me ask you a question. When you come out to the end of their street, and initially we made that left, but I did see that pathway straight across that you could walk straight across this. What street is that? What street are we on here? We are
this is Tilton.
Tilton.
Right.
You cross over Tilton, take that path.
Yep.
So we would be now driving parallel to that path.
Right.
Does that path lead to the point of impact?
No, the bloodhound has her walking on the grass over here. We're on Wranglebury Road. Bloodhound has her walking all along here.
Right here?
Yeah. Right to the left, across the street there. Now, hold on. And now we're coming up to the Hindu temple. All right? And we have the surveillance video from there. If she had walked the path that the bloodhound said that she walked, that surveillance video would have picked her up. Now, the bloodhound has her making a left on Genoa Avenue. And but for one street light, it's completely dark.
This is a well-traveled road. I'm presuming that no one noticed anything.
No, nothing. All right, so now the bloodhound has her walking on the grass that you see on the left here, and you'll notice no street lights at all.
Now this is a dark road. No sidewalks.
No sidewalks too. Now, if her shoes were found there on Tilton Road, she's walking this distance in her bare feet. Right
well,
there,
and it's the
right
other.
There's the only street light right there.
Right. I mean, it's the other direction too. Her shoes were found. You would have had to make a left on Tilton Road to get to this location. She would have had to make a right. So it's.
Yeah. All right. So
it doesn't seem as though she would have taken her shoes off at that location.
And then walked, All right, now we're crossing Aloy Avenue, and there's a storage facility from which they had the surveillance video.
No, nothing on this, any of the surveillance?
Nothing.
Now we're crossing over train tracks again.
Yeah. Stop right here.
Where's the point of impact from this location?
I'm going to show you now. We're going to get out. All right, now I want to show you. We're going to go to this other memorial that they have for Tiffany, but keep in mind that she supposedly walked on that road with stones and glass. And I want you to get an appreciation of how far this is, okay?
Mm-hmm. we're heading back on.
This is no, it's not Aloy. I forget it. Yeah, this is Aloy.
Aloe.
Yeah. So, and when I say it's pitch black, it is just, it's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I refuse to believe that she walked in. Now, there are people that, a few people that say that it must have been rather traumatic for this 17-year-old girl to admit that she's a gay woman. According to the family, male and females, grandma, aunts and uncles, she was very secure with her position. This traumatic experience, like some people want to believe. I spoke to both parents at length, and they said, "Listen, we accepted it. They thought maybe this was just a passing interest." But they accepted it. And there was no ramifications, no punishment because she came out and said she was gay. Yeah. All right.
And although she had a recent breakup, she had a new girlfriend.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. I was told by reliable people that Tiffany was in demand by other young girls. Some of them wanted to experiment as to what it would be like to be with a woman, and others just liked Tiffany. And supposedly, some of the girls that experimented, their boyfriends were really upset that the fact that they had a relationship with Tiffany. Now, you saw how far we drove, right?
Right. We drove back down, and you made a right into a little pathway. Where are we right now?
Okay, we are. That's Atlantic City Electric Station right back here, and I'm taking you to the memorial that was built by Tiffany's parents and family members, and. Now, this is the memorial, and you're free to take photographs of it. We can get out.
Tiffany Lane.
Yeah. We have video of the interviews that were done by a detective in the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office. And these individuals that the manager of the convenience store, he identified them. They voluntarily came. They voluntarily came to the prosecutors that were interviewed. But if you look at the transcripts of the interview, they had spoken to each other beforehand, the four of them, because some of the answers were exactly the same. Mm-hmm. So, I'm often asked, do you have an idea who's responsible for this? Okay, and I'm going to be candid with you, especially you as an attorney would appreciate this. I don't know. I really and truly don't know. I mean, to say that someone is responsible for this horrific event, you have to have something. It can't be mere suspicion or, their answers didn't sound right. So, that's why if the day comes that we learn exactly what happened, I won't be surprised because it could have been anybody.
Right.
Yeah?
Right. Going back to those four people that were interviewed, someone overheard them speaking, is that right?
Yeah. A manager of a Wawa overheard 3 of his employees talking about Tiffany was taken at gunpoint and so forth and so on. And he called my office, and I never speak to witnesses. I always use investigators. Because I don't want to be a witness to what they said.
Sure, I understand that. Now, how long after the incident did this occur?
I haven't been asked that question in a while. I don't know. When we go back to the office, I'll tell you. So I sent Chuck Atkinson, who used to work in the intelligence unit of the New Jersey State Police, and who's now a licensed private investigator. I said, you interview him. He generated a summary of what the interview was all about, and then we sent the report to the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office, and that's when they brought this individual in, and he was interviewed, and we have that interview.
The store owner?
Yeah, the manager of the Wawa.
Got it. So now we're driving, we're going to go back, and where are you going to
Okay,
take
now
me
we're on Chilton Road. We're going to make a right-hand turn on the White Horse Pike, heading towards Atlantic City, and then I'm going to take you to an area which will be the third area that you could access the specific area where Tiffany's body came in contact with the train. Now,
so there's 3 total places that that location could have been accessed by.
You got it. 3. Yeah. Okay.
And I had asked you a few minutes ago when we were outside of the car if the family had ever had a discussion with the kids about not walking along the train tracks because they had, or was there ever any indication that the train tracks were a location that Tiffany had gone to either on foot or in a vehicle?
Yeah.
And you had said no.
Everyone that we spoke to said, now this is Del Laredo's flea market area.
Okay.
And when
we're turning in.
This is
off the road.
Yeah, of the White Horse Pike. Now we're gonna get out of the car here, and
tell me what we're gonna see.
Okay, we are. We're gonna walk, I think, less than 100 yards to the exact point of impact between Tiffany's body and the train. So, when I was first contacted by the family, and we took what we call the tour that I've taken you on, the gate that you see here was open, and we confirmed that on the day and night in question, this gate was open. So if Tiffany was in a pickup truck, the driver could have taken the White Horse Pike and drove right back there. It's a level area. As you can see, the grass is manicured almost perfectly, and that is a way they could have gotten there.
So we're back in the car, and you just took me to the point of impact.
Right. Which again, would you say maybe it's about 75 yards from the White Horse Pike?
Correct, I would say that.
Yeah. All right, so now we're heading east on the White Horse Pike to Atlantic City, but we're going to make a right to the location where I took you before.
One thing I wanted to point out that we discussed when we were out of the car was that very close to the point of impact, there was an axe that was recovered. And how far away from was it found, did you say?
I would say 50, 60 feet.
Okay, and it was found and it was taken into evidence?
By New Jersey Transit.
Logged into evidence?
Oh, yeah. And when I was able to get a court order requiring Transit to send the various articles of evidence to a private DNA lab in Ohio, and Dr. Julie Hennick, who's the executive director of the lab, called me up and said that any of the testing they did was for naught because Transit had not properly maintained the evidence and had put most of it in plastic bags, and mold developed and contaminated the evidence.
Okay, now what pieces of evidence other than the axe are you referring to?
You know,
you have the log.
Yeah, I have the log. Let me get everything for you.
I think the one thing that's important, there has to be some indication of what happened to the axe while in evidence. It's either got to still be there, or there should, at least at a minimum, in my opinion, be someone who could be assigned to look into that and determine if it, what happened to it. So we're heading back to your office and we're turning back down on Tilton Road.
Yeah. So in the end, I think all your viewers are going to say that the investigation that was conducted by the New Jersey Transit Police Department has put Steve and Diane Valiante in the situation where they are, which is that it's been a 7-year fight to get information for the purpose of determining what happened to their daughter. And I interviewed probably at this point 50, 60 friends and relatives. Okay? All of them, including Tiffany's volleyball coach from Stockton University, have said she wasn't depressed. There's no reason that she would have to die by suicide. So, and there were some young girls that said, Tiffany was unhappy, but another friend said she would conveniently be the drama queen when it was appropriate, or would help her advance her cause. So, I just can't believe that so many people could be wrong about her, not being in a state of depression. And so when you look at everything, now, I have, in my career, this case is one of 3 cases involving suicide that I've been involved in. And not that I'm an expert, but I consider myself somewhat well-read on the topic. And if you look at the statistics that are maintained by the United States Department of Transportation regarding verified suicides on railroad tracks, 95% of them are men as opposed to women. When women commit suicide, their method is usually drugs. It's some way that is less violent than having to stand in front of a train. A good medical examiner's office will have its investigators do a psychological autopsy of the decedent. So that wasn't done in this case. And so I did it. And we did everything that is my law firm. We did everything that medical examiner's office would do because I had the direction of Louise Hausman, who was an investigator for the Atlantic County Medical Examiner's Office when it existed. And so we got every single medical record on her. There wasn't any indication of depression. Absolutely none. The actual toxicological report was negative for alcohol and drugs. Given the fact that there was no observed depression in Tiffany, and had the detectives of the New Jersey Transit Police Department done that psychological autopsy, they may have used a rape kit on her body, which wasn't done. And I will be really interested in your thoughts, if you have time, on when you see the body itself, what you think, given your background. Do you have a time issue?
No, I do not. I was surprised that there was not a rape kit done.
Yeah.
I was. Now, and the medical examiner would have been in control of the scene initially.
The answer is, from my reading of the reports, somebody from the medical examiner's office came much later after New Jersey Transit. New Jersey Transit was there first.
Did the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office come out?
No. They were contacted, but they didn't come out. No.
They never came out to the scene that night?
Nope. Nope. Now,
that surprises me. I thought that they would have had to have come out to any death that was unexplained.
Yeah. Now, there is an issue here, and I've spoken to representatives of the prosecutor's office. Their position is it was an event that took place on New Jersey Transit tracks, and it was a New Jersey Transit train. New Jersey Transit Police Department has primary jurisdiction, along with the Attorney General's Office of the state of New Jersey. These representatives from the county prosecutor's office said, if the Attorney General's office asked us to do certain things, we of course would have done it. But they never asked us. Now, by my shaking the trees, we were able to get the prosecutor's office 3 different times to investigate this case. They could have said no to me, but they didn't. And to be fair to that office, they said, Paul, there's a lot of suspects here, but we don't have any concrete evidence to take this to a grand jury and seek an indictment against somebody. But they said, if you ever get anything, bring it to us and we'll evaluate it. Now, I was interviewed by Unsolved Mysteries for 7.5 hours. And one of the things that I brought out was, after I became involved in the case and the prosecutor's office was conducting an investigation, in order for them to get a court order for Tiffany's cell phone records, they had to indicate that it was a criminal investigation, which they did.
Mm-hmm.
Which they did.
Did the and when was the CDW, the communication data warrant on her phone, obtained? Right after?
No. Oh, here's another issue.
Because what I ask, before I forget, I ask is because I was just curious if it was they were able to do any type of GPS location on where the phone had been. which they often do, at least in cases I have.
Yeah. A couple of years later, let me go back a little bit. I would periodically meet with people in the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office. In one of my meetings, I want to say maybe the second year after Tiffany's death, I learned that the Northfield office of the FBI, that they had one of their key persons do a triangulation with the phone.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm.
And
so they did do that.
Yeah, and it never left the area within the 3 cell towers, which is the area that I took you to today. So,
but that doesn't mean that it couldn't have been. It doesn't necessarily mean for sure that the phone was dropped by Tiffany at the location it was found.
Agreed. Now, here's something that. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go. You want to go? In the night in question, some of Tiffany's friends came to the Valiante home, and Diane overheard one of the girls going, "Where's Tiffany's phone?" And one of the girls was looking at the phone doing certain things.
Was this before or after she...
After it was known that she died.
So after her dad picked it up towards the end of the driveway,
right?
One of the friends took it?
It was in the house. They had learned that Tiffany had died, which I think was like... It was after midnight. Mm-hmm. And her friends were looking at the phone. What they were doing, nobody knows.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when a phone is searched, you can still find deleted things that are deleted. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. So, but that is certainly interesting. I would be interested to see what, if anything, had been deleted, if it was still able to be retrieved from the phone.
Well, I'll show you the cornerstone search. My file's like this. Mm-hmm. I may not be able to give you... What I want to do is I want to... what time is it? Okay. Yeah, Carolyn, my legal assistant, is still there. There are certain things that she can photocopy while you and I are looking at the photos that were taken by the New Jersey Transit. Mm-hmm. I have read various journals as to what happens to the human body when it comes in contact with a train doing 80 miles per hour.
Right, and that's something that we had talked about a few minutes ago when we were out at the scene.
Yeah.
So, what would you expect to see?
Well, you would, from what I have read, you would see a body that was in little pieces all over the place. In this particular case, and I'll be curious about your reaction to it, it seems that her arms and her legs and head were like surgically removed from the torso. Mm-hmm. And hold on 1 second, let me get over here before these other cars start coming.
Well, which I guess could be more consistent with her body being laid across the tracks, or laying across the tracks.
Or was an axe used to chop the body up? Right. I guess really the question becomes right now, what do you think law enforcement ought to do with the facts that they have? What hasn't been done that you're unable to do as a private citizen that law enforcement would have the power to do through search warrants, subpoena, etc.? And that's really what it comes down to, because we talked about the body's been cremated. And I'll tell you what has to be done. There are certain key people And in fact, investigator Jim Bernstall is coming with me. Is coming with me to the meeting with the Atlantic County prosecutor on November 16, and we're going to have a list of people that we think should be interviewed. If one of her friends knew that Tiffany was going to commit suicide, and maybe they have guilt that they didn't prevent it. Maybe they have guilt that they never told the family. Why can't they come out now and say, listen, I can't stand you suffering, any longer. Your daughter, was going to take her own life. Why doesn't somebody come forward? So, and with all the media attention this case has gotten, I have asked over and over and over again that question, and nobody comes forward. Nobody. Did you see the piece that was done on NJ.com?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See, that goes to the incompetency of the medical examiner's office.
It does. It does. And I did read that, and that touches on a couple different cases. It's a concern, obviously.
Yeah. And now, we had a local plastic surgeon look at a diagram that shows the cuts on Tiffany's body. Mm-hmm. And he said, these were man-made. This didn't come from the train.
Right. And that's significant. I mean, the question becomes, are there any other train fatalities that you can compare the results of the injury to see if this is ever, this type of injury has ever occurred?
Right.
I'd be interested to see it.
Let me see if I can find the articles. I have so many articles on this, and there's a great, if you go to our website, we have a whole section on Tiffany Valiante. It has all the lawsuits, it has everything, but it also has some very good articles about how medical examiner's office, let me go back. There's a great article that says we don't have national standards on how do you classify a death as suicide, undetermined, accidental. We don't have national standards. So you have variations in offices within a certain state. So that is a major issue. So let's go upstairs and let me show you some of this stuff, and you'll have a lot of reading, and
we'll try to get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
This podcast is not a source of legal advice. No two legal cases are the same. Contact an attorney if you require legal assistance. The best way to follow, subscribe, rate, or message the show is to visit njcriminalpodcast.com. Podcasting is a powerful sales tool with digital marketing benefits. If you're interested in law firm podcasting, simply dial 239-351-5575 and ask for Tom. That's 239-351-5575. Or go to lawfirmpodcasts.com to schedule a call.